In September 2024, thousands of pagers exploded simultaneously in Lebanon. It wasn't a missile strike. It wasn't a drone attack. It wasn't a conventional military operation. It was something far more insidious. A supply chain hack that took years to execute and turned everyday communication devices into remote detonated weapons. Intelligence agents created a fake company, manufactured fake electronics embedded with explosives, and sold them to their enemies. The targets never suspected anything. Why would they? The pagers looked legitimate, functioned normally, and came from a trusted supplier. For months, operatives carried these devices on their belts, in their pockets, completely unaware they were walking around with bombs. Then, on September 17th, at approximately 3:30 p.m. local time, someone pressed a button. A coded message was sent to thousands of pagers simultaneously. The devices beeped, vibrating urgently to alert users. Instinct took over. People reached for their pagers, brought them closer to read the message. And in that moment, 3 grams of PETN explosive hidden inside each battery pack detonated. Thousands of explosions, synchronized, targeted, devastating. Hospitals overflowed with casualties. The psychological impact was immediate and total. If you couldn't trust the device in your pocket, what could you trust? This wasn't science fiction. This was the ultimate physical cyber attack, where the supply chain itself became the weapon, and everyday electronics became instruments of warfare. This is the story of the most sophisticated intelligence operation in modern history. The hack that turned pagers into bombs. Stay with us as we dive deeper. The setup. Why pagers? The choice of pagers seems absurd in 2024. Who still uses pagers? But that's exactly the point. Hezbollah operatives had learned painful lessons about smartphone security. Modern phones are tracking devices that happen to make calls. They broadcast location data constantly. GPS chips pinpoint position. Cell towers triangulate movements. Apps collect data. Intelligence agencies can remotely activate microphones and cameras. So Hezbollah went low-tech. They returned to pagers, believing older technology would provide security. Pagers are one-way communication devices. They receive messages but don't transmit location data. No GPS, no internet, no metadata. From a security perspective, it seemed smart. The organization distributed thousands of pagers to operatives across Lebanon. They became standard communication tools for coordinating movements and relaying messages. Operatives carried them everywhere, clipped to belts, stored in pockets, kept on bedside tables. They became trusted tools for a group obsessed with operational security. But intelligence services were watching. They saw the switch to pagers and recognized an opportunity. If Hezbollah was abandoning smartphones for low-tech alternatives, then low-tech alternatives would become the attack vector. The Trojan horse, becoming the manufacturer. Intelligence services didn't intercept shipments or tamper with existing pagers. Instead, they became the manufacturer. A company called BAC Consulting appeared in the supply chain. On paper, it looked legitimate. Proper registration, business addresses, marketing materials. They offered pagers for bulk purchase, marketing to organizations that valued secure communication. Prices were competitive. Devices appeared authentic with proper branding. Hezbollah's procurement officers did their due diligence. They verified the company, tested the pagers. Everything checked out. The devices worked exactly as expected, receiving messages reliably, good battery life, solid construction. What Hezbollah didn't know was that BAC Consulting was a front company created for this operation. The pagers were modified. Inside each battery pack, hidden beneath normal components, was approximately 3 grams of PETN, a powerful explosive. 3 grams might not sound like much, but when detonated next to a human body, it's devastating. The engineering was sophisticated. The explosive had to be concealed well enough that inspection wouldn't detect it. The device had to function normally for months. The detonation mechanism had to be remotely triggerable and reliable. All at scale, thousands of devices, each one a precision weapon disguised as mundane technology. The operation took years. Manufacturing devices, establishing supply chains, building trust, ensuring pagers reached intended targets. Every step had to appear legitimate. But the intelligence services were patient, meticulous, willing to play the long game. The trigger? Countdown to detonation. For months, the compromised pagers functioned normally. Operatives used them daily, completely unaware of the explosives they carried. This normalization was crucial. The longer the pagers remained in use without incident, the less suspicious users became. September 17, 2024. At approximately 3:30 p.m., a coded message was transmitted to thousands of pagers simultaneously. This wasn't random. It was specifically designed to exploit human psychology. The pagers began beeping urgently, the kind of alert that demands immediate attention. Users felt the vibration, heard the sound, and instinct took over. This is the brilliance and horror of the psychological manipulation. When a pager beeps, the natural response is to grab it immediately and bring it close to read the message. In that critical moment, when the device was in someone's hand, close to their body, perhaps near their face, the explosive detonated. The timing was coordinated across thousands of devices. Explosions rippled through Lebanon simultaneously. Operatives in different locations all experiencing the same devastating attack at the same moment. The 3 grams of PETN created enough force to cause serious injury or death, especially given the proximity to the user's body. The immediate casualties were significant. Thousands injured, dozens killed. Hospitals overwhelmed with victims suffering blast injuries, burns, shrapnel wounds. But the psychological impact was even more profound. Every survivor, every witness faced the same terrifying realization. The devices they trusted had betrayed them. The aftermath: trust destroyed. The pager attacks didn't just cause physical casualties, they shattered fundamental assumptions about security and trust. Hezbollah had specifically chosen pagers because they seemed safe, immune to sophisticated hacking. They'd done everything right from an operational security perspective. And it didn't matter. The organization faced a crisis. If pagers could be weaponized, what else was compromised? Radios, laptops, vehicles, medical equipment? Every piece of technology became suspect. Operatives couldn't trust their communication devices. The paranoia was justified and paralyzing. The attack demonstrated something terrifying about modern warfare. The supply chain itself is a battlefield. It's not enough to secure networks or encrypt communications if your enemy controls the manufacturing of your devices. Intelligence services had infiltrated the supply chain at the deepest level, not by intercepting products, but by becoming the producer. For intelligence communities worldwide, the operation was studied intensely. It represented a new paradigm: patient, sophisticated, devastating. It required years of planning, enormous resources, and flawless execution. For everyone else, the attack raised uncomfortable questions. How do you verify that electronics you purchase are legitimate? How do you know the smartphone in your pocket, the laptop on your desk, the smartwatch on your wrist isn't compromised? Supply chains are global, complex, and opaque. Verification is difficult even for sophisticated organizations. The pager attack exploited a fundamental vulnerability in modern life. We depend on technology we cannot fully verify. We trust that devices function as advertised and nothing more. But that trust is built on assumptions about supply chain integrity that may not hold when state-level actors are involved. The September 2024 pager attacks represent the ultimate convergence of physical and cyber warfare, a supply chain hack that turned communication devices into synchronized remote detonated weapons. Intelligence services didn't just intercept technology, they became the manufacturer, spending years building a fake company, producing modified devices, and establishing trust before activating thousands of bombs simultaneously. Hezbollah's attempt to avoid smartphone surveillance by using low-tech pagers backfired catastrophically. The very operational security measure they relied on became their greatest vulnerability. The operation required patience and sophistication beyond most imaginable attacks, and it worked. The devices we depend on daily, phones, laptops, watches, all come from global supply chains we cannot fully verify. State-level actors with sufficient motivation can infiltrate these supply chains at any level. The pager attacks proved it's possible and devastatingly effective. This is the new reality of modern warfare. The supply chain is the battlefield, and everyday electronics are potential weapons. What do you think? Can we ever truly trust the devices we use? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to like, subscribe, and click on the next video on your screen.